Hey guys, it's Ian, aka Professor Ion, over at Mastermind, and I had decided that I wanted to do a video on Windows 10, and it took me a while. I wanted to have this up yesterday. It is now Tuesday at the time of recording, and I just couldn't get a list of features together and couldn't get a video together that I felt was appropriate, that covered everything I wanted it to cover. So I've got a list, I've got an outline, we should be able to stay on track here. So let's start at square one, something that everybody has been talking about. And that's, we brought the old school start menu from like Windows 7 back. But we kind of merged it with the Windows 8 one, which is really cool. But it's not necessary. Like, you could take all these tiles and remove them and just have this side screen, and that's fine. That's not an issue. Something that you can do reasonably. You just got to remove the tiles, and you only start with like these ones. Other thing is, if you like the old full screen app, it's right under personalization, start, and if you start full screen, I hit the start button, and it comes up as a full screen system. And it does still have your old Windows 7 stuff clipped onto the side, and it still has Cortana as well. Alright, so let's shut that off because I like the new one pretty good. So, next thing I want to discuss is Cortana, and that's something that's kind of behind the scenes. She's said to be one of the better voice command systems as compared to like Google Voice and Siri. I haven't quite decided on that yet, personally myself, but I'll get there eventually. We'll decide later. So for the time being, you can open Cortana by saying, "Hey Cortana, tell me a joke."
What do you get when you cross a joke with a rhetorical question?
That, I don't know. What do you get? Oh, I get it now. Okay, see, that's awesome. So she does some cool stuff. You can also have her open programs. Hey Cortana, open Excel.
All right, starting Excel Mobile.
And she opens things up for me. It's really cool, and that's only one of the few things that you can do. You can have her search things and other such awesomeness. So that's something to play around with. Figure out some commands. There's in here somewhere like a list of commands. You can also have her do reminders and things like that. It's really neat. She also gives you this cool, like, you know, what's going on. Partly sunny, precipitation 0%, 66 degrees. Coolness. Alright, so the next feature I want to discuss is the task view as well as the multiple desktops option. So, as always, if we hit Alt-Tab, it shows me all of the programs that I currently have running. It's a pretty neat feature. If we flip over so that we're watching our left monitor, and I hit this button, this is our task view button, it shows me what I have on this monitor as far as shrunken programs. Pretty neat. And switch back to our center monitor here. If I bring up Skype as well as, let's say, battle.net, and then we're going to shrink this guy. Actually, I want one back. And we're going to set him to the quarter of the screen. No, half the screen. And now it's going to be like, hey, you know, here's all the other programs you have open. Maybe you want to move one of them over to this side. I'm like, yeah, sure, let's put Skype there. So now we're going to drop this guy up, and it's like, well, maybe you want something else. And I'll be like, yeah, Spotify. And it didn't put it in the right place. Now it fixed it. There are a few bugs with this, as with any new feature. It's just to be expected. It's a new program. It's a entirely new operating system. They rebuilt it. So we're going to have a couple of minor bugs like that snapping thing occasionally not working quite like you would expect. Moving on, we have the snap assist. That's basically what I just showed you. Touched on this a little bit. So let's cover the multiple desktops option. And most people have no idea what this is. So if we hit task view, let's bring up Skype and battle.net and Spotify. And then we hit this button. And we hit new desktop. Then we click desktop 2. Now everything's gone. All of my icons on my taskbars are gone. The whole 9. On all 3 of the screens. So we hit this again. We go back to desktop 1 and it goes, oh, here's all that stuff that you were just working on that you switched off of real quick. So it's a really nice and easy way to be like, all right, here's, what I'm working on for this project, here's what I'm working on for this project, and they're all under different desktops. It's primarily built for people that only have one monitor, but it also works really smoothly if you're using 3 monitors and working on like 80 projects, which, if you're anything like me, happens every day of the week. Every day. Alright, next feature is going to be our notification center. So if we click down this guy here in the bottom right, I'm going to hit notifications. And right now I have no notifications, but we can open up OneNote with it, which I actually just did. And I didn't really want to. And OneNote is on my side monitor. It has my outline on it. So that's why I'm leaving it over there. Quiet hours, we can kind of tell it, okay, no notifications, no pings. We got settings here. Connect for connecting to different devices. Tablet mode, which obviously I cannot do. This is a PC. If this were a desktop, it weighs like 50 pounds. That's an extremely expensive desktop or tablet. VPN. So virtual personal network, something you can also set up right from this screen. Really neat. You're also going to get notifications of messages, such like that. You can collapse that guy so it just shows the top ones. And you can also pull up settings from here. And this new settings screen is something I'll get to a little bit later, but this is where you're going to be going most of the time to change things around, to adjust things instead of control panel, though control panel's still there. So the next one I want to go over is command prompt. Command prompt got an update. So as we've all always known, you couldn't ever copy and paste into command prompt, but I just did it. How awesome is that? So let's do ipconfig. Bam. IP related stuff. And most of you have no idea what any of this is. But I'm sure there's going to be some tech guys that are going to be out there watching and they're going to be like, oh, that's neat. So Control C, and then Control V, and we paste it. And it'll give us all that information again. And then it'll try and run it all as commands as well because I hit enter. So that's why we got some of those issues. But if you're like on the internet now and you're like, I don't know what this command is, you can very simply go ahead and just copy that command and then paste it right in here, just like we just did. So that's neat. So that enters the 21st century, so to say. There's a couple of other new features, but that's the majority of it. So we have the new web browser that they've added, and I don't have it pinged here because I use Google Chrome. So we're going to demonstrate Cortana again. Hey Cortana, open Edge.
Sure. Starting Microsoft Edge.
So she's going to pull up Edge for me. Now this is a pretty neat browser. It shows off some information, so it's got like my weather, some scores from baseball games, which is kind of neat. We can just click and go right over there. We won't worry too much about the baseball right now. Also got some other news stories and stuff. That's something that Microsoft is really big on, is providing news quickly. So Microsoft Edge is a nice browser. I've not really had any issues with it so far. I still prefer Google Chrome, but Microsoft Edge isn't a bad browser. It works well. There's some features in it that I haven't fully explored, and I'll do another video on that in the future. But for right now, I just would rather use Google Chrome. Not to say that Microsoft Edge is a bad browser. Just prefer Google Chrome still. So let's touch on the File Explorer really quick. There is our new quick access. It's our home screen now, and it's got our frequent folders. It's the places that I go the most often, at least, or have right now. So it's going to be like pictures, music, stuff like that, wherever you spend the majority of your time, and also the recent files. Share button's right up here. So if we select a song and hit share, I can burn it to a disk. I can zip it. Could email it if I had email set up on this, but I don't, because again, I use Google to do my email stuff. Share, I can choose an app to share it. Got advanced security options, stuff like that. And there's also just hit play. So that's the majority of the updates they made there. They did make it look a little bit cleaner. It's pretty nice. It looks clean. Quick access can be shrunken, opened. OneDrive's right there. No need to get a separate program for it or anything like that. And then you've got all your network stuff, which is all going to be in there. And then there's this PC, and I have an absurd amount of devices and stuff on my computer. So it still works well. The old, like, open settings control panel's not here anymore. It's open settings now. As compared to like Windows 8, where control panel is here, now it's open settings. We still do have system properties as well as manage. New apps to do the same thing is all it is. They do the same thing, they just look slightly different. It's not a negative thing. So, Internet Explorer is still there. They didn't get rid of it. Why? I do not know. I have not yet figured out why they have kept Internet Explorer, even though they replaced it with Edge. I don't understand. Because Internet Explorer still sucks as much as it always has. It feels cluttered, it doesn't work well, it's slow. Edge, on the other hand, works well, it's fast, and it doesn't really feel cluttered, it feels clean. So Internet Explorer is still there, unfortunately. But I'm sure we'll be taking care of that. So, another thing that we're going to tap on here real quick is scheduling updates. So we're going to go to Update and Security, and then touch on Advanced Updates. So choose how updates are installed. We can do automatic, which automatically detects when I'm not using my computer based on my usage history and what I'm doing. So if I'm away from the computer for a while, it's just going to do the quick update restart right then and there while I'm stepped away from the computer. I don't know as if any updates have installed since I've installed Windows 10. Let's take a look. Yeah, 7:30, the day that I installed Windows 10. So no new updates yet, but thus far I haven't really had any negatives with it. Or you can do notify to schedule, and basically the computer pings you and says, hey, there are these new updates. When do you want to set the restart time as? And it just lets you decide when to set the restart time. I thought that was really cool, as I always wanted the updates in the previous versions of Windows, but I didn't want to do it now, and delaying it for 4 hours always seemed too long, and delaying it for 10 minutes was always way too short. So we have universal apps. I showed you that with Word, where I have Word Mobile now, which is basically the Word app, and it operates on everything. I demonstrated it with Excel, not Word. So, skip all this stuff. Start using Word. I can make blank documents. Obviously, you have to have an Office 365 subscription to create documents. You can sign up, sign in, whatever. But right now, it's read-only, and I'm not going to bother signing into my Office 365 thing. Just because. Alright, so universal apps are a thing now through our store. And there's a whole lot of neat stuff in here. I mean, it's kind of like, when you get a new iPhone or a new Android device, you look through the App Store to see what's there, because a lot of times there's neat stuff. We're not going to go over all of the neat stuff, but there's plenty of cool things in here. There's neat games, there's getting started apps, essential games, music lovers stuff, just the whole 9 yards. Something you definitely want to take a look at. It's universal, so it works on Windows phones, Windows tablets, the whole 9 yards. So now let's go back into the settings and control panel debate here. This screen here that I pulled up once before is just WinX. Be careful in this screen because it's called the Power User menu for a reason. It is for power users, people that know how their computer works and know that they're not going to break it. Like Command Prompt, you can break your computer very simply with just a couple of commands that would format your hard drive and you'd lose everything. So let's try and avoid that. So we can still get to the old school control panel. No big deal, it's all right here, right like it always was. But 90% of that stuff was also in settings now. And, I mean, if we take a look at them here, they're very similar. Obviously, I sort by large icons. It's just a personal preference. But all of this is all over here. Somewhere. Or 90% of it, anyhow. Account, time and language, clock language region, user accounts. This is here. Appearance and personalizations here. So all of this is over here somewhere. Not really a big deal. I like the new settings menu. I find that it's easier to get to what I'm looking for with it. And I just find that to be nice, rather than sorting through large icons. Though to be honest, with large icons, I have found that at this point I've basically memorized where everything is in this screen. It's all alphabetized, and as you use the computer, you're just like, alright, I want Zonar, or devices and printers, or display, ease of access, remote app and desktop connections, the whole nine. It's all easy to find. But I like the new settings screen. It's pretty easy to use, it's fluid, and it's actually intuitive. It just makes sense. So, 2 more things to talk about before we wrap up here. The last is we have DirectX 12 now. If you don't know what DirectX is, it means that this feature probably won't affect you a whole lot. But basically, it enables the computer to better use your graphics card for the OS, for gaming, for whatever. So it should just overall boost performance, period, but it's probably not going to be super huge and super noticeable. The other thing is that there's this whole thing about Microsoft spying on you. And the big thing that's collecting your information is Cortana. And so if you don't want Cortana, and you don't want her to know what you're doing and remember things, just turn her off. Turn her off. Before you can even use her, you have to agree to her specific TOS for Cortana. And everybody is all flipped out over, oh my gosh, I can't believe that Microsoft is tracking where I go, what I do, who I talk to. Well, yes, Cortana learns you so that she can better serve you. And even though everybody's skeptical about, well, Microsoft wants to follow me. No, they want to follow us as a whole. They like to gather statistics. And when they say that they're doing it to better serve us, 90% of the reason that they're doing it is to better serve us. They don't care what we're doing. They have billions and billions of dollars. Why would they possibly care what the general user is doing on a regular basis? Except to provide services. So yes, Cortana has to track all of that information because she needs access to it. It's kind of like when people flipped out about the Messenger app for Facebook needing access to your contacts and to make calls and to, your photos. Well, yes, it needs access to your photos so that if you take a picture in the app, you can save it. Or you can take a picture in the app. Or so that you can pull people up from your contacts in the app. Things like that. That's why they're tracking that data. They're not using it to spy on us. They really don't care what we're doing. Because if to be completely honest, if you think about it, if Microsoft cared what their users were doing with their operating system, there would be fewer people doing illegal stuff on computers because Microsoft would have cracked down on it. Or there would be fewer people that got away with having a pirated operating system because Microsoft would have cracked down on it. Because they know that people have illegitimate copies of their operating system. They have that data, but they don't really use it. They're not using it against us, is my point. They're just tracking that data for an auxiliary use in order to better serve us. So I hope you guys found this review useful. I'm going to be doing some more videos on the Windows 10 as I experience it, as I learn some more things about it, some different features that they're adding over time, as well as some different features in things like Microsoft Edge, for example, which I'm curious to try out and use a little bit, though I probably won't end up using it as my daily driver. So anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Like the video if you liked it. Dislike it if you disliked it. Remember to hit that subscribe button. And thank you very much. See you guys next time.